Hey everyone! A few months back we did a video called How to Become a Lawyer, which you all just loved. And you came back with so many questions and you wanted more information. So we've got Advocate Sachin Daga back into the studio just for you to answer all those many questions that you had. So welcome to the show, Sachin. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
So tell me, one of the questions that people have been asking, they've been very motivated by your mid-career break that you took and you became a lawyer. But one of the questions they've been asking me is, that the hesitation that I am in a career, I am, got a reasonable income and some stability. Now to leave that and to get into a brand new field, they feel a bit apprehensive about it. So what advice would you give them?
I started my career in some different field and I worked for 15 years. And after that I was looking at this field of law. So then I decided that, let me just do this degree of law, which is very important, first of all, to get into legal practice. Traditionally, there were only two kind of specialization which were there, like civil and criminal.
Right.
This field, the way it is evolving rapidly, you have got variety of specialization like arbitration, international law, cyber law. So let me tell you, you need to plan it. And if you have that kind of immunity which you can tell yourself that you can sustain for say 1 year or 2 years, you can take a plunge into this field. And I am telling you, it's up to you. Your competition is you. You may decide how much to work and how much not to work. And let me give you some data.
Right.
That in India, there are 15 lakh advocates across the country. And there are 4 to 5 lakh students. Approximately 70,000 graduates are joining this profession.
Every year.
Every year. And this field is growing by 25%.
I think it sounds fantastic because I see a cardio surgeon. He's probably doing cardiothoracic surgery all his life. But what you're bringing here for people is the fact that they can do a variety of things and perhaps do them all either simultaneously or at different parts of their career.
Exactly. And if you have a good team of lawyers, you can grow your business, you can grow this profession. At the same time, you are serving society.
Right. So Sachin, you mentioned that there are so many options for a student to take up after he graduates. So could you highlight for us some of the career prospects that he would have once he graduates?
So as I say, law is always evolving. So whenever there is a new field, legal aspect is there. Now with that in mind, there are so many new career courses which a student can pursue today. You can talk about arbitration law, banking, cyber law, intellectual property law. And there are very many other fields, which are not even prescribed by Bar Council of India, like public laws, private laws, commercial laws. So opportunities are manifold. It's up to a student or a person, in which direction he or she would want to go.
This is very interesting because I see a lot of young parents telling their child, you argue very well, you should become a lawyer. So I am saying that is just one aspect of it. But Sachin, increasingly as I see the responses coming in from students, I find that there is this increasing fascination these days to be in corporate law. So could you tell us something about being in corporate law versus the other fields?
Whether one would want to be in litigation, one would want to be in corporate sector, he can decide today, tomorrow, after 5 years. As I have said that law is evolving and it is growing rapidly, and it has grown rapidly because of the fact that corporate legal sector is growing. There are new fields which are coming up. There's a banking law, arbitration, international law, competent law. One thing which people will come across is that when they are doing their internship in college and when they are going court, they are not having a good experience. The condition of courts, they see that after doing law they will have to come over here to conduct a case. On the contrary, when they are doing interns in offices, they are seeing that people are doing 9 to 5 in a posh office. So they feel at times in short term, it will be nice that if they can work in corporate sector.
Right.
That is number one.
Yes.
Number two, what is happening is that people get salary towards the end of the month.
Yes. There's a certainty they feel.
There's a certain, the reliability of job role is there. Now there are foreign multinational companies which are coming, and therefore there are certain fields like merger and acquisitions, air, marine law, space law, environmental laws. These are the sectors which are coming up. These are high paying fields.
Yes.
Again, so you require specialized individual. However, there is another school of thought that no, in short term corporate sector is paying them, but in the long run litigation pays.
Right.
So it all depends upon the patience of a particular individual, and amount of work he would want to put into this field.
So when a student does an MBA, he seems to have a very good idea that, okay, I've specialized in finance and these are the top financial sector companies, and within these companies I can carve out my career. You mentioned in law there is a big advantage that the world is open to you. You can choose any one of these fields. But one of the questions that people seem to throw on the forum, on the last video that we did together, is that sometimes when the field is so vast, I am not able to decide very well for myself. You mentioned corporate law, you mentioned litigation, there are some others, I'm sure. So could you guide them that once they have done their law, what are the different options and how they should choose between these options?
It's a very good question which you have asked, and you've rightly said that in other fields you are very clear where you would want to go. The way I would answer is that I would compartmentalize various field of law. First compartment is litigation.
Okay.
If you have a flair for litigation, then one should be ready to go in the court and argue the matter. It can be for the firm, for the corporate, or you can become a government pleader. But it only happens in films and literature, wherein people think that the only role is at the top of the food chain. But in law, it's not like that. The person who is drafting, his or her drafting should be stellar, so that the other person can argue the matter.
Right.
Procedural law is very important. Technicalities, how to file a case, filing lawyers. So we cannot discount those roles. One can have a very good career in a back-end role also of like that too in litigation.
So even the best actor needs a great script writer.
Exactly. There is a different set of student who would want to be in government job.
Right.
There is a civil service examination called as ILS, Indian Legal Services.
Okay.
And if you clear that, probably you can become law secretary. It's a prestigious post.
Okay, wow.
Alternatively, you can be a registrar, collector, notary public.
Through the ILS examination.
Through the ILS, and then there are other exams like judges, judicial clerkship. There are other examinations.
Okay.
Third is academics.
Right.
A person who has got flair of teaching students and do research. So immediately after LLB he can do masters, MPhil, and then doctorate, and he can be into research. He can become a professor.
Right.
He can join legal process, outsourcing, etc. There are corporate jobs. One can go into writing contracts, agreements, arbitration, and in-house management of litigation.
Right.
So these are 4 compartments. One can choose which direction they would want to go, and then they can choose and decide.
So this sounds fantastic to me, that different skills that people have or different personality types that people have can lead them into different fields, all within the umbrella of law. But share with us, there must be some common skills that are definitely required for you to be a good lawyer, irrespective of which of the fields you choose to be in.
Very true. Very true. According to me, any of the role you choose, you have to be responsible and diligent. You have to be on toes, number 1. Number 2, he has to read a lot. He needs to have a good communication skills. He should articulate thoughts very clearly and think laterally and quickly.
Right.
They should work on the temperament of others.
Okay.
They should anticipate what can come in, and then they can opine, they can give guidance, and then they can give advice. Because law is nothing but common sense, as I always say. Last time also I have said, law is nothing but common sense. But to have that, one has to read a lot, articulate, and then only you can give advice to other people.
Sometimes the simplest things like common sense are the hardest ones to cultivate.
And that is why we say that we lawyers are practicing, and when we say practicing, learning never stops. In fact, I was reading somewhere, the living legend, Fali S. Nariman, he wrote an article, Turning Point of My Life.
Okay.
Whether he has his case or not, he sits in the court.
Okay.
And he observes something new over there.
Wow.
What I'm trying to say is that at his age, at his level, at his stature,
Right.
the person is going to the court and learning. You must have heard about Chief Justice M.C. Chagla, who was Chief Justice of Bombay High Court from 1948 to 1958. He wrote a book called Roses in December. Specifically, he has written that the success of a lawyer depends upon himself.
Right.
He has to work on his skill. He has to develop that legal aptitude. But above all, what people see and corporates see is that one has to have a good round personality. And not only that, he needs to have good networking and contacts.
Right.
One of the ways is that you can work or get trained under a senior lawyer. Another is that he will have to work on his own skills and get the network developed on his own. People do watch cricket a lot.
Right.
And you will see that there are players coming from good academy.
Right.
And they are placed into Ranji.
Right.
And when they are there, they will have to perform on their own,
Right.
on their own fitness. They have to play on their own.
Sachin, another thing that students are asking a lot about is the entrance exam. How are we to know what do we need to study? How do we prepare for these entrance exams?
Students interested in law, they will have to take two types of courses. One is 3-year LLB, that is
Right.
after graduation. 5-year, that is just after passing your high school, that is 12th standard. Government has started taking up a common law admission test,
Right.
which is called as CLAT.
CLAT. Right.
There are 5 different kind of questions which are asked in this particular examination. English, general knowledge, legal aptitude, mathematics, and logical reasoning.
Right.
One can prepare by doing classroom training, online coaching, or self-study.
Okay.
One student can join a crash course, say of 1.5 months,
Okay.
wherein they will teach you on what to study and what not to study.
Okay.
It's very important.
Yes. This is about the Indian law scenario.
Absolutely.
What if a student wants to apply overseas for law? While it is a postgraduate course overseas, unlike India where it's an undergraduate course, but what would be the requirements and preparation required for that?
So you need to prepare for LSAT, Law School Admission Test.
Let's say they do the LSAT, they go and study in a university abroad. Can they come back at a later date and practice in India? Let's say they've studied American law or British law.
So first of all, straight answer is that yes, you can come back.
Okay.
And you will have to enroll yourself with Bar Council of India.
Okay.
And there are a lot of universities which are recognized by Bar Council of India, and then they can enroll themselves and they can get Sanad.
Right.
And after getting Sanad, they will have to enroll for All India Bar examination,
Right.
so that they can get certificate of practice.
Okay.
But my advice would be, if somebody would want to practice in India, so in my opinion, it is always good that you read Indian law in Indian
Right.
context. Otherwise, you will see yourself lagging behind when you compare yourself with friends.
Right. Or if they studied abroad, then they could perhaps stay with the multinational companies that need them to know the international law.
Exactly. If they want to pursue international law, competency law, or international arbitration, then yeah, it may be a good idea to do law from foreign university and getting place in India. It can be an added advantage.
Okay. Sachin, you mentioned Sanad, and this is another thing that people think about. This is Sanad is required for your own practice, and so what is the process of going about getting this?
Sanad is nothing but license to practice. So after finishing your graduation, you will have to enroll yourself with any of the state bar. So for example, if you are in Mumbai, so Maharashtra and Goa, and later on you will have to appear for All India Bar examination. Bar Council of India has started conducting this examination since 2010, which will provide you certificate of practice.
Okay. So another question is, there's this age limit right now, and there's a lot of debate about it. There's an age limit that you can only study law below a certain age. So let's say somebody gets into an undergraduate program in India and, at a young age, but doesn't pursue that, doesn't practice that, continues working in a corporate job. Can they take this sanad like several years later as well?
Very good question, but let me tell you, there is still ambiguity with this, but the law is that you can have the age limit up to 30 years for a person who is doing 3 years LLB degree,
okay.
And for backward class it is 35 years.
Okay.
In integrated 5-year course, then the age limit is 20 years. Okay. And for backward class it is 25 years. But in my opinion, I would always suggest you can do law degree and later on you can enroll yourself for sanad whenever you would want to come into practice.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can always be in corporate law.
Right. So Sachin, since you mentioned lawyers have to keep themselves updated all the time and the onus rests on them. In the previous video, you had given us some fabulous books and the viewers enjoyed reading some of those books. So could you please share with us some other ideas on how they can continue to keep themselves updated?
Certain interesting reads I would suggest is Anonymous Lawyer by Jeremy BLACHMAN, Making Your Case by Antonia Scalia, How to Argue and Win Every Time by Gary Spencer. And one who has got interest in watching TV series, so one can watch Boston Legal, Suits, Better Call Saul, and How to Get Away with Murder. These are some good TV series, wherein one can watch and develop their legal aptitude and other skills.
So tell us, you've run this private practice, you started it on your own, you had sort of no prior experience, you were in the corporate sector. So would you like to share some tips and advice for students looking at you as a role model and saying, how do I run this private practice well?
The lawyers themselves are their own brand. So for them, reputation is very important. Trust is very important. So therefore, start building trust in your clients and build reputation accordingly. As we always say that whatever you are practicing today will germinate into a garden tomorrow. What I really mean is that just because you need to earn money, you should not take each and every case coming on your way.
Okay.
Because what I have realized in my limited experience is that 95% of the problem comes because of these 5% of the clients.
Oh, okay, right.
Number 3, what I would suggest is that you should have a goal, clear-cut goal in your mind, and you should work towards that. 4th, your time is very precious. You are giving advice, you are giving opinion, you are giving guidance. Very important aspect is that you have to be very, very proactive with your clients. If you are not communicating with your client, there is some dissatisfaction, and when this dissatisfaction is there, you will not be able to have continuous business, and your reputation will be at stake. Right. So you need to communicate with your client. You need to tell your client what is happening. You need to give feedback. You need to take feedback.
This is something which often people talk about, is there's a case, because cases take time. Sometimes that lack of communication, like you said, creates lack of trust.
The profession works on relationship. You need to keep meeting people. Another point one which should remember is that you should have a mentor. If you have a mentor, your success will be faster. As it takes time for a lawyer to develop his practice. If you have a mentor, you can develop your practice faster and quicker. What I always believe is that if you are enjoying the profession, working hard is just a byproduct.
Right. So thank you so much. We understand time is of essence, and we really appreciate, on behalf of all the viewers who've been asking for this second episode, I really thank you for being here and sharing all this with us.
Thank you.
Please click the subscribe button below. Like me at facebook.com/ChetChat101. Follow my Twitter handle ChetChat101 or at Instagram ChetChat101. Please leave your comments in the sections below. Thank you.